This is Dennis Colleran, and you're watching the Moneyball channel.
Today I have Dennis Colleran. Dennis Colleran was a pick in the 2024 MLB draft from Northeastern, which I'm excited to hear a little bit about. How you doing, man? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm still, wiping the eyes out. I got my cup of coffee. Northeastern, man. Tell me about Northeastern's baseball program first. I want to dive right into that. I have a good friend of mine who went to Northeastern physical therapy, how it was going there, and was that kind of like, hey, I want to, that's where I want it. How did everything go down as far as going to Northeastern and having a great career that you had there?
Yeah, so Northeastern, they recruited me very early on in high school, and I knew I wanted to go there for the school. And it was Glavin there. He's a great coach, Cobb, very knowledgeable. So just having those two and like kind of just, the whole program they have built up. It's not the best. Glavin, I don't know how he will feel about me airing this out. It's not you don't have Power Five facilities. You don't have Power Five field. The field's a little bit further from campus. So, you don't get too many fans to the games, but what he's done and, the team that he's built there, it's very impressive. Every year the team gets better and better, and they get a little bit further. So it just thinks, me, at what point are they gonna just really? I mean, they had a really good year this year,
Yeah, I
and
saw that. Well,
yeah,
Dennis, if you build it, they will come, right?
exactly.
I mean, and I did see he's doing a great job. Listen, it takes someone to build a foundation for people to want to come there, and that's just what it is. It's all really who you bring in to kind of recruit the guys and who people want to go play for. So when you create a good culture, you get guys like you, that are drafted into the MLB that want to go play for them, then someone behind you says, "Well, that's where Colorado came from." You know what I'm saying? And it builds that foundation.
Yeah.
Obviously your loyalty, I'm sure, meant a lot to the school, and they went after you early. When you say a Power Five, most people, I think, even beyond that, think everybody's got to come from a Vanderbilt or a Georgia or, a Southern type school. I think the South gets a little bit of a knock here for our baseball ability at the North. I'm sorry, because it's a little bit of a tougher grind. So, for example, when you were growing up playing, did you play other sports? And did you think, being in Boston or around that Massachusetts area, you were going to be able to play baseball for a living?
Yeah, so I grew up. I was always trying to play three sports. Started off with soccer and
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah.
Then I went to soccer, started wrestling in the winter.
Okay.
Obviously, baseball's always been the one thing that I've never stopped playing. Then I started doing once I got to high school, it was cross country wrestling and baseball. Then I went just to wrestling and baseball, and then by the time I was a junior, I was only into baseball, and it was kind of one of those things. It was never really like I didn't really know about going professional. I mean, it was like senior year of high school. That was kind of like when it really started to like become like maybe it was gonna this would could be a reality.
Yeah.
But it was always kind of my parents were always having me focused on school. They weren't having me listen to any of the
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I I I preach is that you should always be playing other sports other than baseball.
I agree.
Like I don't like seeing like a 10 or 12-year old and they've narrowed it down to one sport already, whatever sport that might be.
I totally,
You
totally.
wanna you don't want to be spending an off season practicing for the one sport. You want to be spending that off season probably playing something else. And
I've found that most often, and usually that's from the parents, right? They're trying to create the bionic baseball player or whatever it is, or the parent didn't make it living vicarious through the child. The kid's gonna burn out, man. I could not agree with you more. I like to almost do it seasonally, and then when you see something, right? Now, if you see something, wow, Dennis can really, he's lights out, whatever. Like you said, then a little bit later, 15, 16 years old, okay, let's really focus on this. Does that make sense? But I
yes,
think I agree with you wholeheartedly. And there's too many parents, I think, that are just narrowing it down. I'm like, well, what other sports does your kid play? Oh, nothing, man. We send him to baseball camps, baseball this, baseball that, or any sport for that matter. You see it more in this area with hockey. And I know Massachusetts is big with that too.
yeah,
You see it a ton with hockey, where these kids are playing hockey, all summer, all fall. And like you're going to burn out, especially when they just want to be kids and all their other buddies are playing other sports. So, I mean, that's a good point that you make. Obviously, that's knowledgeable for you being 21 years old and not having any kids to already see that is good. But, you see it and it's good advice for the kids that watch the show here as well. Let's talk a little bit about your pitching, man. 7th round. So obviously KC, I always say this, and I had a long conversation with Dash about this. It doesn't matter where you are drafted. Once you're drafted, it's show and prove. Okay.
Exactly.
But being drafted 7th, they are vesting in you. They're saying, okay, this guy, like what we see. And it looks like KC did kind of stack up on pitching in the 24 draft. They're really looking for relief, bullpen stuff, and starting pitching. What are you doing? I looked at your numbers, man. You are definitely a strikeout guy. What are your numbers? Are you coming out of the pen now? Do you want to start focus on a starting role? What's your goal?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a reliever. I tried starting.
Okay.
I've done starting in college, and let's just say so. I think I had 5 starts last year in my junior year of college. I had like a 13-point ERA, so it's not really so I'm definitely a reliever. I think that ship sailed, but you never know. If they ask, yeah, we'll say,
Well, I kind of
whatever
like
you think. So yeah.
that though, man. I like just, defining your role. I think a lot of guys, and again, Dash and I spoke about this, it's, not quite as sexy, right? To come out of the pen. It's, you want to, the starting role, it's shifting in that regard. And I think there's a bigger need right now, because guys don't go 8, 9 innings anymore, man. This isn't the 70s and 80s, right? Guys are going 5 to get the win if they can. And then we're using 6, 7, 8, and maybe up to a closer. But the relief pitching has become so much more important, especially, you go once around the lineup, boom, okay, lights out, whatever you got. And you go second or the third time, and these guys are chirping about what you throw, and they're beating these guys up. The more you see it also is with these velocity arms. Because you're going to catch up to the ball eventually, right? I mean, you can only throw so fast unless some guy comes in, he starts throwing 120, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on with AI, so I don't know what we'll create. How do you feel about that? The velocity, the coming into the game, is that kind of, when you come in, you're hyped up and that feeling of, I love the reliever running in with the Enter Sandman or, something playing to hype you up. I mean, give me your take on it all.
Yeah, I've always loved the rush of coming in. I remember my first time being a reliever. It was summer after my senior year of high school. I was in Worcester, Massachusetts, playing for the Worcester Bravehearts. My walkout song was a Motley Crew. Let me find it.
It was I think I already
Kickstarted My Heart.
I was just gonna say Kickstarter. I swear to God, man, I was gonna say.
And it wasn't the biggest stadium in the world, but they would pack it out. It would be like 4,000 people every single night. Like they did a great job with that stuff. That was my first experience with like being a reliever. It's like, okay, so this is what it is. Like you're coming in and the last inning of the game and everything's rah. So that being like my first experience of what being a reliever is, that was pretty awesome. And I think that kind of like set my expectations of, okay, this is what a reliever is. This is what a reliever does. And sometimes, it's the starter doesn't get out of the first or second inning, so you got to go in there and you got to eat up innings until like the 6th or 7th inning. Sometimes it's, you're up by 10 runs. No one really cares about the game anymore. Like it's already over, but you still got to go out there and get 3 outs. Or sometimes it's the other way around. Like you're down 10 runs. And you still got to go out there, get those 3 outs, and get through the innings. So it's a lot of like, you will be the way to describe it is it's the most 0 to 100 out of anything you can do in any sport, because you're sitting down, you hear your name over the radio, you got to get up, get moving within the span of potentially 2 minutes, and then have to get out onto the mound and be 100%. But it's definitely the most, you need to be ready as soon as possible whenever your name's called. Now, I don't know if there's really any other sport that is really like that. Like hockey, you're sitting down and your name gets called, but like, you're watching the entire time. Like your adrenaline stays there. Right. You're in a bullpen, you're sitting for 2 hours. Like you're talking with your buddies about God knows what.
Right.
Not really paying attention to the game.
Right. And that's true. There's a lot of baseball games, man. And anyone who sits there paying attention to every single pitching out is lying, because I know what goes on, in the bullpen there. And, you guys are definitely not paying attention to everything. Maybe a backup goaltender, I guess, maybe, if the guy gets
Yeah.
shelved early. But I mean, that's kind of the closest thing, because as you're speaking, I'm sitting here thinking, and yeah, you're right, man. And to be able to go and you have to go out and perform. The thing with a backup goalie, say the starter goes in and he gets shelled. The backup goalie then is like, well, he came in, so they don't ever blame him. You know what I mean? You guys can still take a lot of the blame, right? I mean, let's put it this way. Your guy goes in, you got a 4-0 lead. He leaves in the fifth. He's like, oh yeah, I'm comfortable, man. I shut him down. Then D comes in, and you give up a couple early runs. Let's talk about that for a minute. I think we can have a little fun with this. Let's talk about like the starting pitcher relationship with the reliever, right? The hate him or love him relationship there, man. You can be a scapegoat real quick. How
Yeah.
some behind the scenes action there in the clubhouse and things like that? Like, dude, you blew it for me, or thank you so much. You see him praising on a catch or something. Give me a little bit of dirt.
I wouldn't really say like anyone's ever blame each other. It might be maybe there's been a couple times behind my back that maybe I blew a game, and I've never been on the receiving end of it, but there's definitely been times when the starter gets pulled from the game and the run it's like second and third, maybe like one out, and then you go out there and you get the 2 outs and leave the runner stranded. Starter's always going to be like the first guy right there, and that's how it should be. Like if you protect someone's runs, you should definitely be the first person. The one thing that's like you don't want to be the guy that, you have a bad inning, you leave a couple of runners out there and like, maybe you're a little bit mad. So then you stay in the corner of the dugout and like the guy comes out and saves your ass from those 2 runs that you left out there. And, you still stay pouting. You don't go out there and, be like, hey, thanks for, saving those 2 runs.
Right. Yeah. You never want to be that dude. How I look at it, man. I'm Buffalo, Josh Allen, and you always talk about the quarterbacks who at the end of the season, they buy the linemen watches or cars or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh just signed his shout out, Josh. He just signed his big contract, got married, house up the road here from me. And,
Yes.
you hear about what they buy the linemen and everything. I'm thinking you get a Cy Young type cat, right? You get somebody this year like Scooble, right? I mean, that dude likes to pitch well into the game anyways, but my relievers in the 7th, 8th, if I'm a 22 win guy, I'm buying all those relievers, man. You're all getting Rolexes.
And I won't say no to that.
You know what I'm saying? That's the way it should be, though. It's the same
Yeah, sure.
situation. You're kind of coming and saving their butts a little bit. Tell me about KC as an organization, bro. Dash had nothing but great things to say. Do you have that same feeling with KC, and how has it been with this organization? How has it felt?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I will preface it with, as long as the dudes are good, no matter how long we spend pretty much 24/7 with each other. So it's you're gonna get really close with people. But no, it's definitely Casey. Definitely like kind of lays the groundwork out, kind of with how they set everything up. You're always. I remember when I first got there. It was kind of it was like the first 2 months was kind of just telling us how it's going to be and kind of like making sure we were getting to know each other, because this is kind of like this is your family now. My actual family, I see them in the off season. Sometimes they'll come out and watch a game, but like this is I got to rely on these people now. I have to, something's wrong. If I want to talk about something, I got to go to one of these guys about it. So it's definitely like, you see everyone at their best, you see everyone at their worst. So you kind of like, you get to see them as like, their true selves. And that definitely, makes you, yeah, makes everyone very close.
Yeah, I love that, man, and that's a great answer. It does become your family for sure, and sometimes just like with anybody in your family, they annoy you, they get on your last nerve. There's a lot of different. The difference with that is there's a lot of different personalities in that clubhouse. There's a lot of different egos, right? And there's an old baseball saying, for any baseball player who's not humble, you're about to be, right? If you're not humble now, you're about to be. Because somebody's coming for you, somebody's gunning for you, somebody's always going to pitch harder and better than you, man. Is everybody pretty cool there? Like they're grounded?
Yeah, I'd say like if there is any egos, it kind of it gets handled out on the baseball field. Like everything kind of deals with itself. I wouldn't really say anything like really. I would say anyone's so bad that they needed to be called out.
Yeah.
I'd say
Yeah,
it's
no,
pretty good.
and,
The Royals are they're very big on like the type of person they're getting, and I feel like they've been very good at like getting that right type of person.
yeah, the Royals, they almost have a homegrown type culture. They're such a good team, man. They're fun to watch, between, the new Jack and Bobby and Vinny, and those guys. And then, you see Bubik and the pitching that's coming up. Where are you now?
I'm up with the Quad City River Bandits now. I just got
Is it?
3 weeks ago. That's
Oh,
the high A.
good for you, man. Good for you. And that's the trajectory, right? I mean, you high and then double and then trip and then, you see where it goes, man. And that's great for you to already be there. You're 21. If they're seeing that, and I looked at your numbers and they're great, this year. And if they're seeing that, obviously, boom, 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 right? And you don't always want to whip through it. I think people sometimes get a little bit too overzealous, like, oh man, I want to be AAA by next year. They know what they're doing, right? These guys know what they're doing. But congrats, I did not know that. And for you to already be up there, and then maybe next year you start dub or whatever it is, dude. But 21 years old, like I said, you'll be 22 in August. So everything looks to be on pace, dude. And you're a heck of a pitcher. And I just want to say that to you. What do you really focus on right now? What are you trying to work on most? Is it velocity or a mixture of pitches, or what are you personally trying to work on?
So I'm not allowed to work on velocity.
Okay, really?
I already throw hard, and if I
No, what do you mean though? What do they say to just kind of not?
it was I've had a long-standing problem of trying to throw them harder than I can. Trying to.
Bro,
I'll
can you please talk to my 11 about to be 12-year-old?
It's something I've been really working hard on because it's one of those things. You're out in the stadium. There's a bunch of people in the stands, and you see a number flash up in the screen, and you're like, I'm gonna try and beat that number.
I'm so glad you're admitting this right now.
It is that's what they call it, like the self-eating snake, where it's just you just keeps happening unless you take yourself out of it and like be like, hey, let's stop for a second. It'll eat you alive.
How do you do that, bro? How do you do that?
Kind of have to sit on the mound, look at the ground, and kind of just just feel like you're throwing hard enough. You don't need to worry about velocity. You're throwing hard enough.
You got to throw hard, right? Do you touch 100?
Yes.
Okay, and I thought you did, but I don't want to ever. Do you touch 101?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah.
You touch 102?
Once.
Wow, dude.
I won't name drop, but it was against the guy that was pissing her team off, so I got a little revved up for it.
Wow. Well, I don't care how revved up you get. Okay. So yeah, we're talking next level. You watch a lot of other guys pitch?
I'm always on Pitch Ninja watching that stuff.
So you see what these guys are doing. They are taking a little off. And yeah. I think, listen, you're absolutely right. Everybody goes to see a guy throw that fast. Okay. And especially when you come in and you're going to pitch an inning or two. But dude, you're 21 and your health is of primary concern.
I kind of have to, what I've been doing, this is not something that's like a long-term solution. It's kind of like just the past couple outings. So I've been using my fastball as like a secondary pitch. Okay. Using my other pitches as like, I'm primarily going to like my cutter. Okay. My sweeper. Yeah. And then I'll go to the fastball after. So it's kind of like,
dude, that's smart.
Almost like putting my fastball on the back burner in a way of like, not lying on it. I mean, that's because it's also.
I think that's smart. I think that's really smart, Dennis. Like first of all, when you come into the game and you say you have the 2-3 hitters, they're expecting high heat, right? Or they're expecting you to come right at them. Yeah. The smartest thing you can do would be to start with something else, dude. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 right? I mean, these guys aren't going to touch you. These guys study. They know. They got TrackMan. They got everything Hitman. They got everything else, man, right? They study. They're not going to touch you if you do that. I think that's the smartest thing you could possibly do. Maybe I'm going to sign up for pitching coach position with the Royals there in a minute. I don't know. But it's fun to watch you throw, dude. That you're very transparent. You're straightforward on how you do things, and like you're raised right, and you're just a good dude. You know what I mean? And in the transparency with that stuff, I really appreciate, because a lot of younger kids do watch my show, a lot of young kids who are pitchers. And let me ask you this, when you were younger, when you were playing those other sports and stuff, when were you just pitching? When was it pitching for you?
So I was catching until I was in high school.
Okay.
And then I was playing first through high school and DHing. I was first pitching and DHing all through high school. And then it was college. That was when I became only a pitcher.
Okay. So, think about that too, right? How were you at the plate?
Pretty good. hit a lot of home runs. It was either a home run or a strikeout. I kind of took my pitching philosophy to the plate of like in high school. I was very much I'm gonna blow you up with velocity. So I took that philosophy to the to home plate. So you could see it in how I swung. It was very violent.
You were Steven Seagal out for justice, man. And how's the arm feeling now? Everything's good. You healthy? Everything's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been in a season this long, but no, it's stay on top of it. Kind of, don't overdo it every day, and if some comes up, being honest about it, and like bringing it up to the trainer or the pitching coach. I'd say like those are like the big things that have helped me kind of just have a healthy season so far.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Knock on wood.
Knocking on wood. So I have an 11-year-old about to be 12 in August. Actually, shares a birth month with you there, and I have
Awesome.
a 10-year-old, both travel ball players. What advice would you give? So my 11-year-old is a pitcher. He's a switch hitter and he's a pitcher. What advice would you give about how hard he can throw or training at that level? We already talked about the other sports, but what advice would you give him baseball wise?
I would say this is kind of something I've had to learn this year is that velocity nowadays is the least important thing when it comes to pitching. Is now all about location, movement. But there's like five pillars. I know velocity is the one that I've always said. Like that's the last thing you need to worry about. So don't be thinking about it. And the other thing I always like to say is that you should remember that it is a game. We're playing.
Thank you.
And I have to tell myself that sometimes is that it is a game.
Yeah.
You might be getting money for it, but it is still at the end of the day, it is a game. So don't, treat it as such when you were, your kid's age and, thinking about what if I got paid to play this game and just remembering that.
Great advice, man. It really is. And what else can you ask for? Now, did you get the degree at Northeastern or are you going to go back
I'm still working on it. I'm close though. I'm still close. I'm getting there though.
what are you doing? What are you gonna what's the degree gonna be in?
I'm in cybersecurity. That's just working,
That's pretty
making
cool.
sure computers don't get hacked into.
Listen, when you're 37 years old and the career's winding down, dude, you're going to need to have something. You are at such an advantage then because you have accepted a role and you want to go kill it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the guys who, and I know you said, yeah, if they need me or whatever, but that's not what you want to do. Accept a role and excel at it. Be the best at it. Dude, these fill-in guys, like the relievers, be the best at it. You're going to get paid the most money to play the least amount of baseball. It's almost like that closer position. I mean, you don't want to be a John Rocker and have batteries thrown at you when you go out on the field, but but be that guy though, dude, that's going to play the least amount of baseball and make the most amount of money and just wow the crowd, man. You want that music playing. I want to hear the Motley Crue and watch you come out and play, at KC. It's an awesome, I'm super happy for you. And you're a great dude, man. So keep rocking and rolling. Couple more fun questions for you, man. What's your favorite board game? Do you play board games at all?
Yeah, I'd say Monopoly. I used to get pretty fired up in playing it. I play it with my sisters. I have flipped a couple tables, but
I can see
it's
a little competitive.
yeah. There's a couple times I was a little bit mad.
Yeah, you want to have Boardwalk and Park, or else there's tables getting flipped around.
Yeah, but I like Monopoly and I like Scrabble.
What's the family life like? Do you have you have sisters, siblings?
Yeah, so I got an older sister and a younger sister. My older sister, she played softball at UMass Amherst. She was also a Division I pitcher, and my younger sister is currently at Boston College. She's also a Division I pitcher for softball.
And we got some ball.
3 for 3.
Did your dad play?
Yeah. No, he played hockey.
He played hockey.
Yeah.
Massachusetts guy, right? My son's gonna, like I said, it's hockey or baseball. That's all. It's Buffalo. Massachusetts, where you're at, is just Buffalo East. It's all it is, dude. Like
Gosh.
We have better wings. You have better seafood. That's it.
Yeah.
You been to Buffalo ever?
I've been up. I think the furthest I've been is Cooperstown. I want to go out there though.
Did you play in
One more
Cooperstown?
thing.
Did you get in tournaments there?
Yeah, I did.
It's cool, isn't it? What's your favorite what's the favorite way to order a pizza for Den?
Pizza. Depends where I am. If it's like a really, really nice restaurant, then I want to get some. If they have fresh mozzarella, then I'm gonna go for like a margarita.
All right.
I like getting the fresh mozzarella. But if I'm at like just a typical sports bar or whatever, I'm gonna get buffalo chicken pizza.
Dude, you are on
So,
it.
I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie.
Yeah. Are you a chowder guy?
Oh yeah. Yep, first time. So first time I ever had clam chowder was at a Cape Cod baseball game. I want to say 6 years old at
Okay.
the Hyannis.
Hyannis Sport. Yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry. Is it Yarmouth, Dennis?
There's the
It
yard.
was the Red Sox. The Red Sox down there. That was the first time I ever had clam chowder, and now it's wherever I go. If they have it, I'm probably
Oh,
gonna.
hold up. You're 6 years old and you're lapping up clam chowder. You're not throwing up all over the place.
Yeah, no. It was cold. It was cold out that day, so I needed something warm.
You're a foodie. That's when you know you're a foodie. Have a great day. I'm sure you have a lot going on.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Thanks, man. Great day.
Bye. This is Dennis Colleran, and you're watching the Moneyball channel.